Hey friends, welcome to your winter solstice transmission. We're in a very sacred time over the next few days where we get to be in stillness, silence, and solitude to receive the messages of the rebirth of the sun. Now, the sun is the organizing principle in our cosmos, the organizing principle in our lives, and a representation of our soul self, our higher self, our conscious awareness. And it has moved from Sagittarius, that 29-degree point, squaring Neptune on the new moon, and now it is in Capricorn. And when it crosses that 0 degree of a cardinal sign, we are in a new cycle. And so this transmission will be for the next 3 months. What is that new cycle? What seeds have been planted? What has been dissolved so that you can move into something new? And that next cycle will be 0 degrees of Aries in the beginning of the astrological new year. So welcome to my channel. My name is Kenlyn. I'm excited that you're here. This is a very potent time to evolve in consciousness. And so I'm going to use astrology as this jumping off point for our waking up. We're going to go into all signs. You can read for your rising sign or your sun sign. And then we're going to have a winter solstice prayer. So even if you just listen to your rising sign and your sun sign, be sure to hop over with the timestamp to your winter solstice prayer, this prayer for these few days of stillness, where these seeds are germinating and cracking open in a new area of your chart. So let's presence what's happening in the cosmos, where we've come and where we're going, and then we'll jump into all signs. I also want to say that on Tuesday, December 30th, we're having our goodbye ceremony, goodbye to 2025 and the old paradigm. It's a grief and gratitude closing ritual ceremony. And we'll be able to name the things that were dissolved, were let go, that died, the grief that we might feel in our personal lives, or maybe something in the collective, or something existentially. And that's a very important thing to do, especially with this threshold of 2025 to 2026. This has been the game-changing moment in time that we'll look back on of, holy shit, we survived this. We had a lot of stop and starts. We had a lot of death. We had a lot of loss. We had a lot of change and upheaval. The threshold from 2025 to 2026 is the end of the end and the beginning of the beginning. So I invite you to attend that. It's live. We won't be recording it. This is just present moment in the now transmission for you to be able to speak and clear the field, purify the field, and we'll do it as a community. So it's at 11 a.m. on the 30th. You can grab the link inside the description box. You'll have to copy and then paste it into your browser. It's free, but register so that you can get the link. And then I also have a free gift for you if you haven't picked it up. It is called The Power and the Relief of Cycles: History, Astrology, and Hidden Opportunity. It's a free 38-minute course. I think it rocks. It's gotten really good reviews. I did it because I was seeing the big picture, like a good Sag, of the change that we're in and where we're going. And I think it provides hope on a lot of levels. We still have to turn the page every day. And when we have the big picture in mind of where we're going and how each one of us can play a role, like what is our responsibility, what's our assignment, I think it helps a lot. I also have a course for just $22 on Uranus and Gemini. It is about the 4 codes of reinvention. And these are codes that I have been using as I reinvent myself during my second Saturn return. And I overlaid that with the 10-year cycle of Uranus and Gemini, plus the historical cycle of winter or crises. So if you want to know more about that, that's just $22. Okay. Thank you for being here. Let's presence how we got here to this moment. So we had a new moon on the 19th of December. It was conjunct the galactic center, that black hole. That the new moon is the sun and the moon. It was at 28 degrees, I believe 33 minutes. And it was also squaring Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces. And that square caused a disillusionment, caused a loss or a completion or an obfuscation or a confusion in some area of our chart that we're really still just working out. And so the best thing to do under that new moon and in the confusion that's followed it is to do that black hole meditation, that monad meditation. It's an opportunity when the personality is confused to just let it be confused and align with the energy of the soul self. the energy of the all. And what a better time to just drop our perceptions, drop our desires, let them all go and listen quietly for that still small voice of that dark center. And inside of that, to hear the assignment, to hear the marching orders. I think if there's anything I can say positively about 2025 is that there's been a lot of growth and a lot of transformation. And because things didn't work out many times the way that we wanted them to, relationships dissolving out of thin air or opportunities that seemed really great disappearing, just so much of that in 2025, we've really reordered our priorities. We've really gotten a sense of who we are outside of circumstances being super good. And that's not nothing. We've also been in a liminal place. It's not a place to take action on plans. It's a place to learn and be quiet and grow and experiment. Because I have to say that whatever would have been built in 2025 would most likely have been destroyed in 2026 because it's a totally different energy signature. And so I trust that we are being prepared, and it's not comfortable to the animal body. It's not comfortable to the personality self either. But thankfully, our soul self is in charge and we are being held by the all. So that's a recap of last week's transmission, bringing us here to the winter solstice as we crossed over to that 0-degree point, a point of what are we building in form? What have we learned? What has been dissolved that we now know we can't take with us into this Capricorn season of building, of creating structures, of recommitting ourselves, of being responsible? We have a lot more information. We have a lot more that has been cleared and cleaned out of our fields. And so we're going to talk about that for each of your rising signs. And if you don't know what your rising sign is, you can Google it. Just put in there natal birth chart calculator, whole sign astrology. And with whole sign astrology, you'll find your rising sign in the first house. I'm going to share this really beautiful image from astrology.com. This is just the basic wheel of the zodiac. And it doesn't have the transits in it. Right now, Mars is in Capricorn. The sun is in Capricorn. Venus and Mercury are in Sagittarius. They will soon join. Uranus is at the late degree of Taurus, retrograde. Jupiter is retrograde in Cancer. And Saturn is direct in Pisces, and Neptune is direct in Pisces. So you can plot where they are in your chart because the rising sign is at house 1, and then everything goes counterclockwise from there. So if you're an Aries rising, then you're a Taurus in the second house, et cetera, et cetera. That's what sets the wheel of the chart in Hellenistic astrology. Aries rising, you're experiencing the rebirth of public purpose and authority. The rebirth of the sun at the winter solstice activates your 10th house. It's the place of vocation, public role, authority, and the work you're here to contribute to the world. The new moon in Sagittarius on the 19th illuminated your 9th house. So we really don't want to look at the 10th without looking at the 9th. So this is where the action was in the new moon, squaring Neptune in Pisces in your 12th house. So all the action was happening here. The new moon illuminated your 9th house of meaning, belief, vision. And over the weekend, the sun at the final degrees of Sagittarius squared Neptune, bringing a moment of dissolution and sobering clarity, maybe even confusion. This asked you to see where a vision or future direction could not move forward as imagined, where inspiration needed some more grounding and illusion needed to fall away. That's what happened with that square. Now the sun enters Capricorn, and the question becomes, what are you willing to take responsibility for in the world? This is a rebirth of your relationship to success and visibility. Not driven by proving or ambition alone, but by integrity and alignment. And so the 10th house governs reputation, legacy, and the actions you take that are witnessed by other people. This isn't a performance. This is actually your contribution that endures. Like Capricorn wants to build something that endures. And so you're on the precipice of asking some new questions about your career or how you're seen. So your rebirth statement is this: I release professional identities shaped by illusion or outdated beliefs. I allow my public role to be clarified by truth rather than idealization or fantasy. I commit to building a life work that reflects my values, my integrity, my willingness to serve something greater than my ego. This is a sober beginning, but what you initiate now is going to last. And we've got Mars exalted in Capricorn, ready to support us to do that. And you are ruled by Mars. So this is very important to have Mars for you in the 10th house. You're going to have a total career reboot or career rise and success. Taurus rising, Capricorn is in the 9th house, and you're experiencing the death of an old self and the rebirth of meaning. And so Sagittarius is in your 8th house and Capricorn is in your 9th house. So what was happening in your 8th house is preparing you for something in your 9th house. The rebirth of the sun at the winter solstice activates your 9th house. It's the place of meaning, of worldview, belief systems, and the horizon that you orient your life forward. I love that because we're talking about horizons with this solstice. When you look at the horizon, you're looking into foreign lands. So it's about foreign lands and foreign people and higher education, like the frontier of knowledge and wisdom. So that Sag new moon was working through that 8th house of death, rebirth, and deep transformation. And as the sun reached that final degrees of Sag and squared Neptune, you were brought in some way to a point of dissolution. And it might have been subtle. You may not even know what it's about yet because you might still be in that Neptunian fog, but it will reveal itself because something had to end. And it wasn't because it was bad or good. It was just because that's the way of it. So it could have been an old identity or an attachment, some way of sharing resources. It was the way of understanding yourself, your life that could no longer be sustained. Or maybe what once felt meaningful no longer feels meaningful, meaning that even your visions are changing, your philosophies are changing because the ground underneath them has shifted. And it may have left you disoriented or actually strangely reprioritized and clear. So this is what the 8th house was doing what it does best, and that was stripping away what cannot go forward. And now the sun enters Capricorn, and the question is, what truth will you live by now? Capricorn in your 9th house is not asking you to replace old beliefs with another fantasy or idealization. Don't construct a whole new fantasy, okay? It's asking you to actually rebuild meaning from the ground up, slowly and soberly, and through lived experience. You know, what did you just learn going through 2025? That has surely changed you at a deep level. This is a rebirth of your relationship to truth itself, how you understand the world, your purpose within it, and the path that you are willing to walk going forward. I know for me, it's been huge around awakening and giving up a lot of ideals that I thought that I wanted. But when push came to shove, and it did in 2025, I reordered my whole inner cosmology. And indeed, I'm embracing a more integrated cosmology. I'd be curious how it's showing up for you as a Taurus rising. So your rebirth statement is, I release identities and beliefs that have completed their cycle, even if I don't know what they are. I honor what has ended without trying to resurrect it. I allow a new ground, new worldview to take shape, one that reflects who I am now, what I've been through in my experience, and the deeper truth that I'm willing to live. It's not rebirthing your optimism, it's rebirthing your orientation to life itself. And what now emerges becomes your compass for the years ahead. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, let's move on to Gemini rising. Gemini rising, you have Capricorn in the 8th house. We have Capricorn here, and we have the Sagittarius area of your chart is the 7th house, the house of partnerships. And so that was what was being worked to provide the ground for what wants to come into form in a very formless 8th house. So you're going to rebirth through emotional and psychological transformation. If you have a Gemini rising, the rebirth of the sun activates your 8th house, the place of transformation, intimacy, shared resources, and psychological depth. So remember, the new moon in Sag in your 7th house and that square to Neptune revealed perhaps projections, idealization, or confusion in your partnerships, or around agreements, boundaries, or expectations, maybe even shared resource expectations. Now, Capricorn calls you inward. It's asking for emotional maturity, honesty, and accountability in how you merge, share, and transform. This is the house of death and rebirth. This is the house of the mystery. It's a house of money and resources that belong to other people. It's other people's money. And the psychological contracts that we enter, often unconsciously. So it's a good time to evaluate what agreements, what we call sacred contracts or cords, if they're negative. What cords do we have of attachments to other people? This is a good time to do an exercise to pull out the cords and replace it with gold light. This is where you examine what you truly owe and what you are owed and what must be released entirely. So your rebirth statement is this: I release unconscious entanglements and outdated emotional contracts. I allow my inner life to reorganize around truth and responsibility and depth. I choose relationships and exchanges that are grounded and transparent and mutually empowering. This is rebirth through honesty, and it will change the playing field upon which you operate. Cancer rising. Capricorn is in the 7th house, the house of partnerships and marriage and contracts. And Sagittarius, new moon, was in the 6th house. So the sun is activating your 7th house, the place of partnership, commitment, and how you meet each other. The new moon in Sag moved through your 6th house, and the sun square to Neptune dissolved unrealistic expectations around work, service, or daily routines that were impacting your relationship. You may have seen where overwork or martyrdom or lack of boundaries in your daily life drained your capacity for true partnership. Capricorn in your chart is asking for clarity and maturity in how you relate. Not idealization, not fantasy, not expectations, not control, not rescue, shared responsibility, mutual love. The 7th house is the realm of marriage, business partners, clients, contractual agreements. What's being reborn here is your ability to meet others as equals, to commit with your eyes wide open, despite all the flaws and the weaknesses, to know what they are and to say yes if it's in alignment with your path. It's really asking you, what is the purpose of relationship for you? And are you living that? And if so, then what is your responsibility to nurture that and to honor the architecture of the partnership with mutual respect? It's a big one. Your rebirth statement is, I release relationship patterns built on projection or imbalance. I allow my partnerships to be redefined through honesty, commitment, and mutual respect. I choose connections that support growth, accountability, and shared purpose. What is reborn now is your capacity for conscious partnership. That's beautiful. If you really take it on, you can go to the next level in your capacity. Leo rising. So you've got Capricorn in your 6th house and Sagittarius in your 5th house, right over here. So this is the area of your chart that's being activated. The rebirth of the sun activates your 6th house, the place of daily life, work rhythms, health, service, your pets. The new moon in Sag illuminated your 5th house of creativity and joy, entrepreneurial ventures, romance, while the sun squared Neptune revealed where enthusiasm, pleasure, or creative pursuits lacked sustainable structure. Joy without discipline becomes exhaustion. Creativity without grounding dissipates. Or maybe it's related somehow to your relationship, your romantic life, or your entrepreneurial venture. You can apply the same thing. Having illusions about them. The square to Neptune wanted to reveal any illusions so that you can actually create a workable sixth house in Capricorn, that sixth house of service. So Capricorn calls you to ground inspiration into daily practice. The sixth house in the realm of routines, protocols, and the work that you do each day that either supports or undermines your vitality. This is also the house of employees, small animals, debts, karmic or literal, that you have to repay. Hard work here pays off over time. Capricorn loves this sixth house. And particularly Mars loves this sixth house, and Mars is here. So you're really going to get a boon somehow to your work life. Hard work here pays off over time, but only if it is aligned with your deeper purpose. I release habits and routines that drain my vitality or lack purpose. Maybe you're going to get a new job that's got purpose to it. I allow my daily life to be reorganized around what truly supports my health, my creativity, my service, and I commit to practices that align my energy with my deeper purpose. Small changes now create lasting strength. This might be the time that you align with that job opportunity that's really more of who you are now. Let us know. That's exciting. Virgo rising, here we are, Capricorn in the 5th house and Sagittarius in this 4th house. It's at the bottom part of your chart. So Virgo rising, this is the rebirth of creative expression and joy. Hallelujah. If you have Virgo rising, the rebirth of the sun activates 5th house, creativity, self-expression, love, and joy. It could also be romance. It could also be an entrepreneurial venture. The new moon in Sag illuminated your 4th house, and the sun squared Neptune, which softened old emotional foundations, family stories, inner narratives that no longer supported authentic expression. You may have seen something in your family dynamic that has caused you to shift your family dynamic to be open to more joy, more self-expression, more creativity, more romance. You may have felt the dissolution of inherited patterns that kept your creative fire small or conditional, like something that you've seen about yourself. Now, Capricorn invites you to create from a grounded place, joy with responsibility, love with intention. The 5th house in the realm of children, romantic love, speculation, the arts. It's the house of your life force energy, the house of Eros, the house of the creative muse and entrepreneurial ventures, the creative risks that you take, the projects that you birth from pure inspiration, the gambles that require both passion and courage. It is the house of gambling. There's other ways to take risks. What is being asked of you now is to build a relationship with your creativity or your sexuality or your romance that is sustainable, that honors your energy, and that comes from self-respect rather than seeking approval. This includes how you approach entrepreneurship, like get real about it, not just a fantasy or wishful thinking, but it is as a disciplined expression of your life force energy, that you only have so much life force energy. And Capricorn's saying, if it's true for you, go for it and get disciplined. I release creative expressions shaped by approval or insecurity. I allow joy to arise from authentically expressing myself and from self-respect. I commit. I allow joy to arise from authenticity, from self-respect. I allow joy to arise from authenticity and self-respect. I commit to expressing my heart in ways that are grounded, sincere, responsible, life-affirming. And this is the joy that lasts. That's really beautiful. Libra rising, Capricorn is in your 4th house. Here's Capricorn in your 4th house, and Sagittarius is in your 3rd house. The rebirth of the sun activates your 4th house of home, roots, family, and emotional foundations. So the new moon in Sag moved through your 3rd house, and then we had that square to Neptune at 29 degrees, which dissolved something. Could it be mental patterns, narratives, conversations that clouded your emotional security? It could be something that happened in your family or in your neighborhood as well. It could be something about your online business or your social media. Something dissolved. You may have noticed where your thinking kept you ungrounded, where stories about yourself or your past created where stories about yourself or your past created instability. So now Capricorn asks you to rebuild your inner foundation with clarity and strength. So you went through something, right? And now you're rebuilding. The fourth house is the realm of the ancestral line, the home that you live in, your private life, the land you stand on. It could be even about real estate and your experience with your mother, your family of origin, or any kind of caretaker. Because it's at the bottom of your chart, this is the underworld house, the soul searching house, the place where you meet what has been inherited with what you decide is going to go forward. So your release statement is, I release emotional stories that keep me ungrounded or fragmented. I allow my sense of home to be redefined through stability, presence, and truth. I commit to creating inner and outer foundations that can support my life. This is the rebirth of safety from within. You're creating your own sense of safety by what you just went through, what just resolved now gets reconfigured and reborn into how you can take care of yourself. Scorpio rising, you have Capricorn in the third house and Sagittarius in the second. This is the rebirth of voice, of mind, of perception. So the sun is activating your third house, communication, perception, learning, the way that you have interpreted reality. This is a good one for a new cosmology. The new moon in Sag illuminated your second house of values. So the new moon was working in your money, in your values, and the sun was squaring Neptune, revealing some kind of confusion or illusion or idealization around your worth, your money, your resources, your self-esteem. You may have seen where your relationship to money or value was built on shaky ground, or where external validation was masking a deeper uncertainty. Now Capricorn calls you to speak, think, and communicate with precision and integrity. No more complaining. The third house is the realm of siblings, neighbors, short trips, writing, teaching, self-expression. It's also the house of the goddess, the place where oracles and seekers are active and where the moon finds her joy. So what you say now carries weight. What you think now shapes your reality. Like who you serve in your heart shapes your value, what you value. So I release thought patterns and conversations that undermine my clarity and worth. That could be gossip. That could be negativity. That could be stories about yourself or other people that don't serve. I allow my voice to be shaped by truth and responsibility, and I commit to communicating in ways that are grounded, intentional, and aligned with my values, that like speak the words of the goddess, become the oracle of the goddess. Your words carry new weight now, and it's time to rise to that responsibility of that new weight. And now Sag rising, here you are, Sag rising. You have Capricorn in your second house, and the house of you, the first house, is where Sagittarius has been. So the rebirth of the sun activates your second house, your values, your resources, your self-worth, what sustains you, the money that you earn. The new moon in Sag was personal for you. And the sun square at Neptune at the final degrees dissolved aspects of your identity that can no longer be carried forward. You may or may not be aware of that, but it will unfold, especially when you start to look at your money in Capricorn, how things are going to get structured for you to receive money based on what you earn. You could have felt totally destabilized by this new moon. and lost some kind of certainty about who you are and what you're meant to pursue. Believe me, I know. But we know that was necessary because that was what is. Now Capricorn is asking you to build your worth from the inside out. And the second house governs, it's not just money and possessions, but it's also your voice and your face, what you put into your mouth, and the resources that feed and support your life. So this is where you discover what truly sustains you. Maybe it's about eating for you. What have you been putting into your mouth that has not been sustaining you? That square to Neptune could have given you a shock of a reality check. You're going to get clear on what actually matters, not what you think matters, but what actually matters to you, who you are as an embodied soul, and to the expression of that in the world through how you create value for yourself and other people. So your rebirth statement is, I release identities and desires that are not aligned with my true values. I allow my relationship to money and resources and self-worth to be clarified through responsibility and self-respect. I commit to building a life that sustains me on every level. This is value made real. Capricorn rising. You have Capricorn in the first house. This is the house of you. And Sagittarius is your 12th house. So the sun rebirthing is rebirthing your sense of self, your identity, your embodiment, and how you meet life. Maybe even what you look like. The new moon in Sag illuminated the darkest house, the 12th house. And the sun square to Neptune at 29 degrees dissolved old identities and fears and unconscious patterns, maybe from past lives, maybe from your ancestors. You have been in the underworld, in the realm of past lives and karma and spiritual clearing. What was hidden is now being brought to light. You are now emerging renewed. I know a lot of Cap risings that really need to hear this. The first house is your house of self, your body, your personality, your character, your viewpoint, the role you play. It's the earth school you're attending in life and the face you show to the world. What is being reborn here is you, stripped of what was inherited, what was obligated, what was unconscious, what was karmic, just what was stuff way beyond your control. And so I release identities shaped by fear, obligation, or unconscious inheritance. I allow myself to be reborn with clarity and presence and integrity. I commit to living as a conscious expression of my deeper truth. This is the rebirth of you. Aquarius rising, right here in this 12th house is where Capricorn is, and your 11th house is Sagittarius. Rebirth through release and spiritual clearing. The rebirth of the sun activates your 12th house. This is the house of solitude, rest, release, spiritual clearing, unconscious patterns, karma, past lives. And the new moon in Sag, it illuminated that 11th house. And the sun square to Neptune on that 29-degree point dissolved some of your dreams, some of your hopes, maybe even some of your potential gains from your career. Maybe you thought you were going to get a bonus and you didn't. Maybe it's dissolved some illusions around friends, around some of the groups that you're hanging out with. And maybe you saw that some of the dreams you have are not even your own, or where your participation in collective visions was draining rather than nourishing. Now, Capricorn asks for surrender and closure. The 12th house is the realm of loss and separation, past lives, dreams at night, spiritual liberation. It's a moksha house. So focusing on spiritual liberation is the best way for this energy to move. It's the most productive and highest way for this energy to move. It is a hidden house, a place of confinement and retreat, but also profound wisdom. This is where you let go of what is complete, where you rest in the unseen so that it reorganizes itself and then ultimately shows up through your expression of you in the first house. I release unconscious patterns that keep me exhausted or disconnected. I allow what is complete to gently dissolve. I commit to rest and restoration and trust in the unseen trust in the unseen reorganization that's taking place in my psyche, in my unconscious. This is the quiet before the emergence. Pisces rising, Capricorn is in the 11th house. Here's Capricorn in the 11th house, and we have Sagittarius in the 10th house. The rebirth of vision and collective purpose. So the sun is activating your 11th house, community, vision, your role in the collective. It is the house of hopes and dreams and wishes, and the house of social interaction, of the way that you want people to like you. With the new moon in Sag in your 10th house, and then the square to Neptune at 29 degrees revealed where public roles and aspirations were built on something that needed to dissolve. You may have noticed where your career or your reputation was shaped by some kind of idealization, some kind of fantasy perhaps, and where your ambitions weren't truly yours, or maybe now they just don't align with who you are now, or where visibility came at the cost of your integrity. So Capricorn calls you to anchor your vision in reality. You've learned a lot at this point. And so now what is true about the world? And that doesn't mean that we don't have aspirations and visions, but we are more sobered. We're more mature when Neptune enters the house at this 29-degree point. So that 11th house vision of a new community, or your hopes and dreams, goals, aspirations, or friends, or rewards earned through your karmic alignment, or the gains from your career. This is the place for a new vision that's worth building and which communities are worth joining. So I release collective roles that dilute my integrity. I allow my contribution to the world to be clarified through discernment and responsibility. I commit to participating in communities and visions that are grounded, ethical, and sustainable. This is vision with form. Let's take a deep breath as we go into our winter solstice closing prayer. I invite you to close down your eyes as we end this transmission for this still point. And let us pause together. Let us notice the space between the inhale and the exhale. At this turning of the light, at the place where the sun stands still and even time seems to listen. May we remember that beneath all striving, beneath all fear and becoming, there is a living current that is moving in and through us. Source of all life, original fire, Adi Shakti, that which beats our hearts and turns the stars, we offer you our listening. We place on the altar our small stories, our strategies and attachments, our need to control the unfolding, not in defeat, in devotion. May what is false dissolve gently, and may what is true rise naturally. Teach us to sense the deeper call, that quiet pressure of life seeking expansion through us. Tapping us on the shoulder, giving us signs in our bellies, in our hearts. May we consent to be shaped by what is greater, to be led by the intelligence of love, to become clear instruments of the whole. And in this dark of the year, may we trust this gestation. In this sacred pause, may we remember that rebirth does not come through effort, but through alignment. May the light returning in the heavens be born also within us in a steady, humble, and true way. And may our lives become offerings in service of life itself. And so it is. And so let's gather all the positive energy that we have received today through this transmission, allowing us to have eyes to see and ears to hear, and then beaming all of that positive energy out around the globe, surrounding Mother Earth and Gaia and all beings seen and unseen. And in a prayer pose, in humility, let's say together, may all beings benefit from the merits of our efforts. Thank you for being here. I'll be dropping another transmission on Wednesday, and I look forward to seeing a lot of you on Tuesday, December 30th at 11 a.m. Pacific time for our Goodbye 2025 and Old Paradigm Grief and Gratitude ceremony. Mwah.